Yes, sir, you are audible. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Okay. So we have around 5 participants in this call. Not sure. Maybe we can wait for a few more minutes to see if any other participants are going to join. Okay, meanwhile, we are waiting for other people to join in. Yes, there is some activity. Was anyone of you there in the Paradox event? Did anyone of you came to the campus or enjoyed the event? Paradox 2022. Okay, looks like no one. Okay, college exams. Okay, all right. Issues. Okay, I think we can now get started. So, Narendra, is it okay if we can start right now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, please.
Wait for a moment. I'll start. Am I
Was
audible?
anyone saying anything?
Am I audible?
Yes, Narendra, you are audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in today's session, first of all, in the last session, we created the to-do app. Hold on. In the last session, we created a to-do app using vanilla JavaScript. This session, we will try to create the same kind of app using the Vue.js. I introduced the Vue.js in the last session. So this session, we will try to create a to-do app using the Vue.js and try to add some extra functionality in our app. So this is the agenda for our app. I'll share my screen and start writing the code. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay.
Sir, are you continuing from the previous implementation, the same point, or fresh starting?
No, I'll start creating the Vue app from the
Okay, means
scratch.
right from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Thanks.
Okay. So first of all, I'll create a directory. And we'll move to the directory. Now I'll create, like the last session, I will create a HTML page and I will call it index.html and also create a JavaScript file. I'll call it app.js. So inside the index.html, I'll write some HTML. And then if you remember from the last time, what I did, I created a div with, let's say, the ID app and all the things that and everything was being displayed inside this div element. You remember from the last time. And what I will do, I will add this script app.js here, and also the CDN for the Vue.js. So let me first check that everything is working fine. So the first thing what I did is I created a, if you remember from the last session, what I did, I created a view instance. I'll call it VM. VM means view model. And the syntax to create a new view instance is new view, and then inside this view constructor you pass a options object. So options object I'll write inside these two curly braces. So let's just check whether our everything is fine. I mean, our app.js is connected with the index.html, or our view instance has been created. So for that, just for testing purpose, I'll create. The first thing I need to do is like specify the EL option. What EL option says that whatever the markup I am going to write, where all these markup will be mounted in the index.html. So like the last time, here I have created a div with the ID app. So I am mentioning this EL option and writing the EL app and writing the app with and writing an element with the ID app. And then I'll mention the data option. So inside the data option, okay. Data option, inside the data option, let's create a new data. I'll call it test. Hello world. And then inside this div, I will try to access that data. First, let me run this application. Yeah, it's working fine. What I will do, I will run everything in the Chrome. So I'll copy and paste it inside the Chrome. Okay. So is there any question till now?
No, sir.
Okay. So in order to create a to-do list, we need to store the items. So for that, we will use the array data structure. So I'll remove this test now, and I'll create a new array. It will be an empty array. Let me remove this test from here. So it's an empty array. And I will also create a string which is item. What I'm going to do, I will let me call it null. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to like overwrite the value of this item, and then will insert this item value inside this items array. This is my plan. Someone raised hand.
Sir, can you please repeat this last statement about the null item and replacing it? I didn't quite understand it.
Okay, what I'm saying that I will like rewrite this item, the value of the item, and then I will insert the value of the item inside this items array.
Okay, sir. Got it. Got it, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does declaring VM as a constant do anything specific?
You are not clearly audible.
We declared.
I guess the question is that the variable that you have created VM, does it carry any significance? This is what he has written in the chat.
Yeah. This is how you create a view instance.
So we cannot just say it's a variable or why make it?
No, we are not going to use it. If you want to like access the data inside this VM instance, then only you need to use this VM VM variable. Like if you want to log the data VM dot items, then only you need. For our purpose, this has no like significance. We are not going to use this VM instance anywhere. But you can use it for the debugging purpose.
So if I need to directly change the values of VM, then I can.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So now what I will do, I will create for the like the last time, similar to the last time. What I will do, I will create a form, input element. The type of the input element will be text, and then I will bind this input element with the item data. What I will model. What I am trying to say here is whatever I will write inside this input value, this input box will be binded with this item data property. We have a data property item. So what I am trying to do here is I am trying to bind the value of this input box with this item element. Okay. What I'll do, I'll try to so now if you go to the root element, you can see that we have a data property. Inside the data property, we have two properties, items and items array. And in the items array, there is nothing. And the value of the items is null. So if I will write write some value here, hello. So you can see that the value of the item changes. Here. If I will write it hello 1, then you can see that the value of item changes. That is whatever the value I am writing inside this input box is the value of this item property. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you are binding the value of the input field with the item property, and it
So
is
this is a two-way binding.
Yeah, it's a two-way binding. Yeah, two-way binding, because whenever I am changing the value of this input box, this value is being changed, and if I will change the value of this hello 1 to 2, you'll see that the value of this, the value of the input box is also changing. It means that this is the two-way binding. If I am changing this value, the value of the item is changing. If I am changing the value of the item, the value of the input box is changing. That's why we call it two-way binding. Now what I will do, I will create a button like the last time, which I will use to like insert whenever I will click the some user will click that button, the value of the input box, the value that the user has inserted inside the input box will be inserted inside the items array. We did similar kind of thing in when we were creating the to-do app using the vanilla JavaScript. Similar kind of functionality is also here. So I will create a button element, and the way you add an event handler in the view is like be on directive, using the be on directive, and then you mention the event that whenever some user clicks on this button, then you write the function name. Let's call it add item. Okay, so what you are trying to say here is whenever some user clicks on this button, we are handling the click event here. Please run the add item function, which I will define inside the app.js. I will write it add here. So now I will define the add item and functions, and there is a options property. We call it method. The method API method. Inside this method property, let's maybe let me check what method or methods. Methods. So inside the methods, you declare the functions, and whenever you need, you call those functions. So for now, we will create a new function, add item. And what I will do, I will whatever is in whatever the value of item is, I will try to insert it inside the items array. That's what I said initially, that this is the plan. So add item, what I will do, I will this dot items, this corresponds to this object, data object. So this dot data means whatever the value, this dot data means this property, because this corresponds to the data property. Okay. So this dot items dot and then I will push this dot item. So what I did, I selected this items array and then pushed the value of the item inside this array. So now let me go to the let me write hello here. Let's add it. So you can see that the value of the item is hello, and inside the items array we have one element called hello. So using the V model, what we did, we binded the value of the input field with this item property, and when the user clicks on the add button, it invokes a function called add item. And what this add item function does, it takes the items array, and whatever the value of item is, it just pushes it inside this items array. So now we have some item inside this items array. So we want to display these items. So similar to the last time, what we will do, we will create an ordered list. Last time, I guess we created unordered list, but this time we will create ordered list. And then we will create a list here. And we have a directive called v-for. What it does, so v-for directive you use on the on some array or some object, whatever the data structure on which you can iterate. v-for you use to iterate over that data structure. So for our purpose, we have an array, so we will be iterating over that array. So now v-for, and along with the value inside that array, you can also access the index of that array. So v-for, and then I will write item, and then index. I will write in items.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Is that always item comma index, or can we write other way, index comma item?
No, if you will write index, the value of the value of the item will be stored inside the index.
Okay, and these are the user-defined keywords, na? Index.
Yeah,
by
these are the
default,
user-defined. You
user-defined.
can call it item 1, index 1.
Okay, sir. Clear.
It's up to you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Now, if I will write the apple here, and if I will click on the add, what will happen? This apple will get inserted inside that items array, and we are iterating over that items, and we are like displaying the value of that item. So we can add as many, and one more thing we would like to do is, as soon as we click on the add button, we would like to clear the input box. So after pushing the item inside in the items array, we will clear the item. Item, this dot item. So as soon as you click on the add button, it will push that item inside the items array, and then also clear the item property. So the input box will become blank. And now if you add the mango here, you can see that we have the new element here. So you can add as many fruits here, as many fruit as you want. So this is how you can add it. This was pretty straightforward. So now what we will do, we will try to, like the last time, we will try to create a button, and once the delete button, and once the user clicks on the delete button, what we will do, we will remove that element from the list, similar to the last time. So what I will do, I will remove this and create a span element, and inside the span I will write the item, and then I will create a button element, and inside the button element I will write delete item. Let me write add item there. So the delete item. So if you will now try to write something here, so you can see that along with the text, yeah.
So last time we in JavaScript we created delete item. Means on the go. Means, that is by using. I'm not able to recall that definition.
Yeah, I understand.
Create document dot create item. Yeah.
You are creating the HTML using the JavaScript.
Yeah. So in a view, we don't have that kind of feature, is it?
No, you can use JavaScript with the view.
No. Without using JavaScript, does Vue support that kind of feature? Adding element, creating element on the go, or we need to follow the same approach that you are now explaining?
I mean, if you can create the element in the view. Actually, the view is a framework based on the JavaScript. So whatever you can do in the JavaScript, you can do in the view.
Okay. And so I can use JavaScript, so that will support here, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I will try for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All you have to do, you have to invoke some action, and that action will create an element. You create a function, and inside that function you write the JavaScript which will create an HTML element, and using some method you invoke that function.
So here with button we can write v dash on colon click equal to, and some function will define in the methods, correct, sir?
Yes. So we will write v on, and then you don't have to write the v on. You can use a shortcut, this one, @. This is same as v on. This is shortcut for v on. Delete item. So along with this delete item, what I will do, I will just pass the index. So we have the access of index. By the index, what do I mean by the index? I mean, we have an array. So for each element, there is an index associated with that item. So if we want, we can make use of that index, because by that, using that index, we can access the array element in order of 1 time complexity. So we have the index now. So we are passing the index with this delete item. Now we will define the delete item here. Delete item. And I will pass the item index. So what I will do, I will find the element with that index and then remove it from the items array. So let's do this. This dot items dot splice. So splice is an array method which you can use to remove a element from the array for some specific index, or you can even use it for replace the element of an array. You can go check the splice. It's a very nice array method. So what the splice method takes, the first argument of the splice method is the starting point, the starting index of that array. So for here, item index and 1. So what I am trying to say here is what the splice method will do. It will take the items array and remove one element starting from the index which we will mention, whatever the index we will mention here. So we are passing with the delete item method, we are passing the index of that item, and now we are using that item index, and we are using splice element to remove that item from the array.
So instead of one element, instead of one element, can we remove multiple elements by this?
Yeah, multiple element. You can, if you will write 2, then it will remove the 2 consecutive elements starting from the item index.
Yes, sir. Sir, one more doubt. Don't we require to define this item index in data?
Item index on data?
In data part, is it needed or not?
No, it's not needed, because we are passing this item index from our HTML here.
Okay.
So when we are calling this delete item, we are passing an index.
Okay, sir. That I understood, but I thought as we are defining this item index as a new variable, do we need to add that to data section?
No, it's not required.
Okay, got it. Fine.
So now I will try to add apple and then orange. Let's delete this. It's working. Apple, mango, and if you click on the apple, it will delete the apple. If you click on the mango, it will delete the mango. So I wanted to add some more feature in this app. What I wanted to do, I wanted to like filter our items based on the fact that whether they have been completed or not. So when you are creating a to-do app, so it's a list of tasks which you want to perform. So once you complete some certain task, you want to mark it that I have completed the task, and based on whether the task has been completed or not, I wanted to add a functionality which will filter the task based on the status, whether it has been completed or not. So am I clear?
Yes,
Hello?
sir, clear.
Okay. So now, instead of pushing only the text, what I will do, I will push an object inside this array, and that array item text. So item text is the name of the task, and the item status is the, let's say, so the default status of any task will be incomplete. So So for that, what we need to do, we want to filter, we want to create a functionality for the filtering the task. So I will create new data item and I will call it data property. I'll call it filtered items. Filtered items, and it will be a empty array. And what I will do, I will so whenever the user will click, let me add the markup first. So delete item, add item, and here I will add a select element. Select element, name, task, select, and ID I will call it task. And then I will add option, and the value which is complete, and the second option is incomplete, and the third option will be all. And I will add the label for this options, for this select item, for this select element, label for, and you pass the ID here, and I will call it filter task. So what I want to do here is, so once someone select the complete option, it will only show the task which is not completed yet. And if someone click on the incomplete, it will show only it will show the task which has not been completed yet. This is what I want to implement. So the markup is ready here, and along with this, what we need to add, we need to add one more button which will say mark as complete. Let me check whether I have changed something. So now, according to, for now, let's remove this. No. So when someone adds some task in the list, along with the delete button, there will be one more button which will say mark as complete. And I will add the functionality for this mark as complete later. But for now, let's focus on the filtered items. So if you guys know the watchers, so what the watcher API is, when you, this view framework is reactive. By the reactive means, if you change the data, the view knows that the data has been changed, and you can like assign an action with this change.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So in video lecture, sir said that means we can define the methods which are written in watch under method section as well. Will that be fine if we define instead of using watch into the method?
Yeah. You can use watch. Can you repeat again?
Sir said that instead of getting this into methods and watch,
Yeah.
concentrate on functionality, and you can add those functions within method section as well instead of creating separate section for watch, as that may create a confusion. I was just wanted to know.
Yeah. I mean the reason for using watch is I don't want to invoke anything.
Okay.
Like if you see the methods here, add item and delete item. So this function will only run when you invoke these methods.
Okay.
But what I want,
can we say watch is like a watchdog? It will continuously monitoring that part.
Yeah, I mean, if you will define a function here inside the watch, it will watch for the change in that function.
Okay.
I'll write the code, then you will understand.
Yeah, there is a concept of watchdog, similar kind of thing, right?
Watchdog.
Watchdog in embedded system, we have watchdog timer kind of thing that observes.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah,
sir,
it's similar to that.
I got it. Yeah, I got it. Thank you, sir.
So filtered items, ignore this part, because we have made some mistake, because instead of pushing the single item, we are pushing an object, and we have not made change in this markups. That's why this is showing up. So ignore this at whatever is being displayed for some time will be fixed. So by the filtered, so here if you see that we have written filtered items. So what we want to say is we are watching for the change in filtered items. Whenever someone will change the filtered items, and we will define some functionality inside these filtered items, and whenever the property filtered items will change, that function will be invoked. But actually we want to watch for the change in items. So if you will push some value inside the items, you will be changing the items array, right? So what we want to do, we want to watch that change. So we want to perform some action when the item array is changing. That's why we have written items, and here am I clear?
So we can use different name, no? Not necessarily it should be items.
No, you cannot change anything else. I mean, you cannot use anything else. You will have to use the property name.
Okay, same property name we have to use it here.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you are writing items, then it will be watching for the change in the items property.
Okay.
So what I will do is this dot filtered items is equal to items dot this dot items. Why I did this? Because I want to whatever is being inserted inside the items, I want that item to be inserted inside the filtered item also. So I said to the view that watch for the change in items, and whenever some change is happening inside the items, please make the same change inside the filtered items. You will understand why. I mean, as we will move forward, you will understand why I am using this filtered items, why I am creating new array.
One doubt here.
Yeah.
The previous page. So actually we are writing array equal to array. Filter dot items is one array. Items is also an array. Don't we need to push the current item into the filtered items for the change? Yes, I'm not getting this logic. Why we are writing item means array equal to array. This dot filtered items equal to this dot items, because once it is updated, that is again it is going to get updated. Now it is going to overwrite again and again.
Yeah, I mean, every time you will change in items
Hmm.
array, it will like change the whole filtered items. So you
Okay.
want me to push that item inside the filtered items?
Instead of this, can we push? That is what I wanted to know.
No,
Will that
I
be
mean,
fine?
we can do it, but let's move forward and then we will see whether that can be done.
Okay, sir.
The reason for writing these filtered items is I wanted to create a copy of this filtered items. I mean, of these items.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Yeah. I will change this filter only. I will change only this filtered items when some user will select this complete or incomplete or all tasks. I don't want to like lose this items array. I want this items array to be saved, and when some user will click on this complete, incomplete or all, I want to change these filtered items.
Yes, sir. Understood.
I don't want to lose this items array because I don't want to lose the data.
Yes,
The
sir.
complete data will be stored inside the registered items, and filtered items is a temporary data.
Understood, sir. Yeah.
So here what we will do inside instead of the items, what I will do, I will write the filtered items. Before indexing filtered items, item dot item text. I hope I'm filtered items. I'll copy and paste here. Filtered items and item dot item text. Item text here. So now let's add some. So now we can see that now we are not using the items, we are using the filtered items. So when someone clicks on the mark as complete, I want to change the status of that task. Apple is a task and the default status of the task is incomplete. I want to change it to the complete when someone click on the mark as complete. So what I will do, I will add a handler here. Click is equal to change status, and I will pass the index, and then define a method here, change status, and then a item index, and then what I will do, I will just find that element and change the item status to complete. So what I have to do, this dot items dot this dot items dot this dot items, and then I will item index. So now we have that element, and once we have that element, I will find the item status and change it to complete. Change it to complete. Is it fine? Because what I have done is I have added an event handler which will handle the click event, and I am calling it change status and passing the index to it with it, and inside, and I am and the method and inside the method what I am doing, I am just selecting the item with that index, and then changing the property that will be an object, And then from that object, I am getting the item status and changing that from incomplete to complete. So if you will click Apple add item, so when I am clicking it as mark as complete, what I am doing, I am changing the status of this task from incomplete to complete. Now let's do one thing. We will add the view here. I will define new property, filter text is equal to, let's filter text is an empty. Let's call it, yeah, someone has raised hand.
Yes, I was following you step by step, but all of a sudden my list is not printing.
You are not clearly audible.
I was following you step by step, but the list is not printing when I add the item. The items and filtered items are taking values, but I am not able to print them.
I'm actually not able to like understand what you are trying to say. You are not clearly audible. Is he audible to
No,
everybody
sir,
else?
he's not tell. No. Will you
Uh,
please show index page once more? Index.html.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting the list, but I'm not getting the item name. Apple, that is not coming. One dot, that delete button, and that is coming, but the name is missing.
Okay, let me write. Yeah, name is coming.
In my case, it's not coming. It's just showing one dot delete item and mark as complete. That two buttons are there. So where did I make mistake?
Have you changed it to item text? Item dot item text.
I think no, not. Item dot item text. Yeah, I made it. Sir, that T is capital. Okay, sir.
Is it working?
Yes, sir. Let me check. Yes. Yeah, no,
hello,
sir,
am I
now
audible now?
I made it a small T.
Yes.
Am I audible now, sir?
Yes.
So yeah, the list is not printing out for me.
Okay, I think you are making the same mistake. The item dot item text, we have changed from items to filtered items. That time that was, I mean, the element inside that array was only an a string, but now it's an object, and that object contains two properties: one item text and item status. So if you want to show it is the item text to the screen, then you need to like access that property item text.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So now what I will do, I will, with this select, I will bind this select method with the, I will bind the data inside in this select option, in the select element, with the filtered text data. I have created a new property, filter text. What I am trying to do is, whatever user is selecting inside this select of from this select select element, I want the value of that selected element to be binded with this filtered text. So if someone clicks on the complete, the value of the filtered text will become complete. If someone clicks on the all, the value of the filtered text will be all. That's what I want. So if you go to the select, and what I will do, I will use the V model here and filter text. So now what will happen here is whatever I will select in this select option, that will be binded with the value filter text. So now let's make the default all. Is it clear? So I
Yes,
want,
sir.
yeah, okay. So now we have access the status to which the user wants to access. I mean, filter text will decide now what elements from the array we want to display. If someone had selected completed, so we only want to show that task that whose status is complete. So I will write the watch option here. So what watch option will do, it will watch for the filter text. So whenever the filter text will change, the whatever I will write inside that watch property will be invoked, a watch function. So if I will write the filter text here, so what will happen whenever the filter text will change, the statements that is written inside that function, inside this curly brackets, will be invoked. So when I'm changing the option from here, what I'm doing, I am changing the filter text. So this means that whenever someone will change the option, this function will be invoked. So what we will do here is we will try to write the logic to filter the elements from an array. So the method you use to filter the elements from an array is filter method. So the first thing we need to do is filter text is filtered items. This dot filtered items is equal to this dot items. So what I'm doing here, I am taking the items array and applying a filter method on these items, and whatever, okay, I will write the whole definition and then we'll explain. Item, and then I will define the logic return. Write the if statement first. If this dot text is equal to is complete, so if the filter text, the value, what it is doing, the filter text is watching for the change in the filter text. So if the value of the filter text is complete, then you filter the items whose status is complete. So this dot items filter item dot item status is equal to. So is there any doubt in the logic? What I'm doing here is I'm watching for the change in filter text, and if the value of the filter text is complete, then I'm filtering those items whose item status is complete. So if you see how the filter method works, you pass an callback function inside this filter item, and the filter method, and filter method pass the items one by one. Like it will pass the first item and then execute this statement. If this is true, then it will store it will store in the array in the array which has been mentioned in the left side. So what I'm trying to hear, it will take the first item, it will check the item status of that item. If it's complete, then it will store it inside the filter items. If not, then it will not it will ignore that item. So now we have written for this one, and now I will write the same logic for incomplete. If the filter text is incomplete, now if I will, for all I will again write if the all complete, or you can write it.
So do we need to write for all, because by default the view is all, no?
Yeah, but once you change the filtered items, so the only that item will be displayed now. Because what I'm trying to say, we are displaying the filtered items. Once we executed this filtered text, once we executed
From all, if
any
we
of
go to complete, it will show complete only.
yeah, it will
To
change,
come
the
back, we
filter
need
items
all.
will change. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
This works. Step 1, add item, orange. So we have 2 items, and let's mark it complete. Yeah, we can see there is only one list item in this list, and if we go to the incomplete, there is only one item, and if you go to the all, it will display all the items. Let's recheck. Apple, add item, add item, mango, add item. What I will do, I will try to delete one item. Is it delete? But I'll just check whether the delete item is working. So delete item is working. Now I will try to. I will just mark this orange to be complete. And if I change the filter task to complete, you can say that the orange is being displayed by the browser. And if you go to the incomplete, the rest of the 2 will be displayed. So whatever I had planned, I have written the code. Now, Abhishek, are you here?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll ask. Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me, sir. In my case, that filter task options are not working. It's not changing to.
Same, sir.
I don't know your code.
If conditions I wrote correctly, it should filter.
Maybe you can check the value of this one and the value of the complete, incomplete, and all. Because when you will click on any of the option, the value will be. The value of this filter text will be the value which has been mentioned here. So you need to check this also.
Those are also. Okay, sir. I will see.
Okay. Anyway, I am going to upload it on the GitHub.
Okay, sir.
So where will you be sharing the GitHub link, on the portal or in the Zoom chat?
Yeah, I'll post it in the discourse.
Okay, sir.
So is there any question?
So will you please summarize this once?
Everything.
No, this part only. That is filtering of the text.
Okay, filter.
Filter part.
This part, filter text. This part, huh?
Sir, correct. Yes, sir, yes. This part only.
So what here, if you see, we have a property filter text, which is binded with the value which the user will select from the select options, and we are like watching for the change in this filter text property. So we have defined this watch option here, filter text, and then what we are doing, what we are saying that if the value of this filter text is complete, then what you have to do, you run this filter method on this items, this dot items. So how this filter option, how this filter method works, you pass an callback function inside this filter method, and the filter method will pass the items one by one. Like if we had an array, mango, orange, and apple. So it will pass the mango first, and you and from this callback function you return either true or false. So if the condition is true, if this condition is true, then that element will be filtered. Like if so, what we are doing here, let's say the value of the status of the mango task is complete, then when the mango task will be passed to this function, this statement value will be true, so that will be stored inside this filtered items. And then let's say the item status of the mango task is not complete, so this statement will return false. So that will be ignored by this filter method. That means that will not be stored inside this filtered items. So the similar thing I have written here. So we are checking whether the filter text is complete, incomplete, or all. That's all. So if it's incomplete, then filter the task based on the item status incomplete. If the filter text is complete, then filter the items array based on the item status complete. And if all, then take all the values.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
I mean, I think we can write it in much cleaner way. Let me try. So what I mean, from the watcher, you can access the new value that has been, by the new value means what each watcher is doing, each watcher is watching for the change. So if there is some change in some property, so there is an old value and there is a new value. So you can access the new value while using some watchers. And like we have a filter text watcher. So by the new value, if we are changing from incomplete to complete, so the new value is complete and old value is incomplete. So the new value is the new value which the user had just inserted. So in this case, we don't need to write this if statement. We can access the new value. So what I will do here, it's this dot filtered items. Just copy and paste this. Instead of complete, I will write the let me check whether it works. Both are there or all both are there. Okay. The all will be the problem. The mark is complete and then check for the complete. It works. This also works. Only all is the problem. So when two will be all. Okay. 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 So item status doesn't have all. So I'll write something. When you else do nothing. This dot filtered items. This dot. Check whether it works or not. There, to complete everything will work, all everything will work, and let mark it complete. So you can go to the complete, and go to the all. Yeah. So you can use this implementation also. It's much cleaner. So is there any doubt with this implementation? Hello?
No,
Hello?
sir.
Okay, okay. So you understood what is the new value?
Yes, a similar code was there in the video. Old value and new value. That
Okay,
was
okay,
explained.
okay.
So considering that, I understood.
Yeah. So we actually don't have the item status all. That's why. So I had to exclude that the status all, and then once if the user, I mean, if the user is selecting all, then all we need to do, we need to like assign whole item to the filtered items. Otherwise, based on the new value, we filter the elements from the items array. and we store it inside the filtered item.
Yes, sir.
Is there any question till now? Because I have like completed whatever I decided and whatever I had planned. You see?
Yeah, yes, Narendra, shall I?
Okay. I'll stop sharing now.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Okay, so before I get started, I hope you all know that there was a tic-tac-toe application, the different implementations of which have been worked through in the week 3 lecture. So there are about 4 implementations of that single application itself. Few of those using vanilla JavaScript and the others using Vue. And there was basically a practice lab assignment that was based on top of whatever it was demonstrated in the lecture. I just wanted to get a raw idea if any one of you have tried to implement that practice lab assignment, because we are going to discuss that right now. And in case any one of you has already tried that, it would be good to hear what approach did you do. Okay, so I'm able to see one okay and yes in the chat. So does that mean you have already tried that? Okay. I'm not able to remember, but I guess someone was asking in the questions in the chat regarding this week 3 practice lab assignment itself. So may I know what was the issue? If I can just look through in the chat.
Yeah, it was me, something.
Snehil, I'm not able to hear you.
Yeah, it was me, sir. I think I was asking about week 3 practice assignment.
Yeah. So yeah, can you please tell me that what is the issue you are facing there?
Yes, I was trying to change. I initialized variables to store who won and who lost. But I was trying to change it based on whatever the result I was getting, which was a computed variable, I think.
Okay.
So I thought if I could make another function that responds only when a result changes, but I was not sure how to do that.
Okay. So that means you have started with it, but you are not able to complete, right? But
Yeah,
at least you have started.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great, nice. Is there anyone else who has started with that? Okay, meanwhile, I'll share my screen as well. I hope my screen is now visible to everyone. Yes, Bhavya?
Sir, can we get the codes that were being discussed in the live lectures? Like sir mentioned that they are uploaded on GitLab and somewhere, but
Okay, you are not able to get it. Just a
Sir,
minute.
sir,
Yes, sir.
GitLab. Sir, can you also share the GitLab link? I am not having that.
Wait. I guess that should be available in the practice lab assignment section itself. So the moment you go there, so here is a hyperlink, right?
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you for this. I will definitely
Okay, sir.
get that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, was that not clear? Because I was hoping that you all should be able to get this code from here. Okay, all right. So there are basically 2 exercises. One, I guess the first exercise is a straightforward one. I guess the count was already added in the screencast, if I can remember correctly. Yes, there was this toggle button where you basically need to toggle the classes on the click of that button. You can do that very easily using class binding and all. So I would not like to spend some time on this exercise one. I would directly like to jump to the exercise 2, which is a more interesting one. So of course, the Tic-tac-toe application is already created. What we need to do is we just need to make some modifications on the top of it. Right. So what we need to do is we basically need to show some status that how many wins or losses or draws have been registered by each of them. So this is what our exercise is. I'll just maybe then I'll have to check.
So before we proceed, in view, can we have one session on component, please?
Components. Yeah, sure.
Component.
Yeah, definitely. Fine.
So please, maybe in next lecture, if possible.
Yeah. The next session will be on component.
Okay, sir.
So what I was thinking is that I would like to make the modifications on the component part itself. Because doing it on the vanilla JavaScript or the other one, it might not be, well, let's see. So I don't have the project. I'll have to get it from GitLab again. So this is the implementation we are interested in. View. I'll just clone it with HTTPS.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Will you please explain more about this? Do we need to install this GitLab on system offline?
See, I would suggest you to, at least gain some, basic familiarity with Git, because we all are working with applications, and because if you're working with applications, you will always be required to, host your code on some remote repositories. So it's always better if you gain some fair understanding with these tools.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So at least the basic ones like push, pull, clone, things like that, status and all. So yeah, what I have done is I have just made a clone of this repository, and it is now available in my local system. So the folder name. So what I have, the command that I have used here is clone. So what this clone does is it basically pulls all of the code from the remote repository. We need to provide the link of the remote repository that I had just copied from this clone. So there were two options: SSH, secured shell, and the other one was HTTPS. I did it using HTTPS, and the next name that I have written after the link. This is basically the folder where I want all of that code to be put in. So now you can see that this code is here. I'll go inside it, and you will see that whatever folders were there, so they have been pulled into my local repository. Okay. So I'll just go into this view. Not interested in assets too much. I'll just open it in one of the IDEs. So I won't be doing it on this, Tic-tac-toe.js, as this seems to be a more complicated implementation. What we'll do is we'll make the modifications in this composed implementation, where we are able to, get a clear idea that what all components are there. One is this board, and this board is making use of this tick component, which is being rendered 9 times. So you can just get a raw idea that this loop is being executed 9 times, and for each time you are rendering this tick component that is coming from you. Okay. So right now, if I'll just run this, or open this application. See, I'll close this. So I'll come here, and I guess this is index2.html if I'm not wrong. Just check. Yes, it is. So right now, this is what we are getting here. So if I'll click on this, I'm able to play this game. And what is happening? It is saying congratulations, and everything is stopped. But right now, as this problem statement suggests, what we want to show is we want to display some extra information regarding the number of wins, losses, and draws registered by each of them. So where shall we start with, or where shall we start from? We'll start by creating or by adding more variables in this data function. So one thing on very high level, that whenever we work with view instances, this data is basically an object. But when we are creating data for a component, it must be a function. Okay. So if I'll show you this in the form of view objects right now, it is not there. But yeah, if you are creating this data for a normal view instance, you will create it as an object. That means this function won't be there. But for component, this is created as a function. Okay. So we already have two variables or two data variables registered here. One is board, the other one is next. Can someone suggest me that how many variables do we require here in order to implement what the problem statement asks us to do? Any idea? Any suggestions? Which all variables should be created, should be declared?
Could you please
Two, three
repeat?
at least. Yeah, so whoever is saying that, can you please also suggest that 2-3 variables are for what purpose? And will 2-3 variables suffice?
Sir, I think 10 value.
Sorry? Okay, so I'm able to see win, loss, and draw for X. Okay, and what about the other player, Y or whatever the other player is? Yeah, O. We can get values for O from the above ones. Okay, so yes, we can basically optimize the usage of variables going this way. All right, so let us just do that. So let's create a few more variables. Let's say the first one is going to be X win. By the way, what should be the initialization for all of these variables? Should it be 0 or 1? It should be 0, correct? Yeah. So 0. The other one is going to be X loss. It's also going to be 0. The other one that we can take is draw. Okay. So what I would prefer here is to take a variable called total. So what I would like to do is I create a variable total, and doesn't matter which player won or which player lose or whether it was a draw, I will be making an increment to this total. And once I know the value of total wins and losses for a particular player, I can always find the same thing or the same data for other players. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Let me see if there is any other variable that we require. Okay, let us just start with it. We'll see that if there is a need for any other variable as well. Okay, yeah. So now what we need to do is we need to show some messages like this. So can someone tell me that where can I add such messages? Shall I add them here in the tick component, or shall I add them in this component called board? Any ideas? Okay, so we'll do it in the board, of course, because tick component is very specific to each square. Each square which is being shown in this board. So this each square is basically a tick component. So if we'll add it in tick component, that won't be the correct way, because we want it to appear just once for the entire group. We don't want it to be appeared for the for each of the cell of this board. So what we'll do here is, okay, let's say we'll add a few paragraph tags. And firstly, what we can write is total matches played above head message. Yeah, that's what we are doing. Okay. We'll talk about that what all values should go inside these Mosaic expressions that we'll discuss in a minute. So here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that template from here. So here it is X. Yeah, this will change later on. One second. All right, so what we have basically done here is we have shown total matches played. We have shown, okay, this should be Y, sorry, O, and loss, I guess that should be okay. If we'll go there and we'll refresh it, so we are able to say this total matches played, X wins, losses, draws, etc., etc. Whatever information we wanted to appear here, that is. Now, can someone tell me that what all values shall we fill in these placeholders? So let's say for total matches played, what should be the value that should go inside it? Is there an indirect variable that is storing the value for total matches played?
Sum of
okay. So, well, it would be interesting to fill in these placeholders once we basically write the logic that when these values will get incremented or whatever processing is going to happen. So we'll fill these values at last once we define the logic when these values are going to change. So you basically don't need to worry about that what is really happening in this code. What we can do is we can make use of the comments. Right? So of course, this is a good practice to put comments in your code so that the other person or whoever is trying to read your code can easily understand that which code or which block of code is doing what. So right now I can see this comment that X1. So I'm able to understand, okay, that if this condition is satisfied, that means X is winning here. At the same time, in this else if condition, O is winning here. And here, as you can see, this comment is saying that it will be a draw, it will lead to a draw. So since we have created how many variables, X win, X loss, and total. So what we'll do here is, I'll write here X win plus plus. Am I doing right? Am I doing it right? What do you all think?
In other case, it will be minus minus.
Okay, so this dot X win plus plus, this is a solution that I got. Now, do you think, am I doing it right? Okay. Sorry, what did you say? Okay, so let's say even if I change it to plus equals to 1, it's okay. That doesn't make any difference. But the problem here is that we are writing this code after this return statement. And I hope you all know that return statement is basically the last statement for any function. That means this code is inaccessible. This won't be executed. So what will I do is I'll shift this code, or instead, let me just, I'll have to write this code here. So I'll write this dot X win plus plus. So right now I'm sure that okay, X is going to win. That's why I'm making an increment in this variable. Is there any other variable that should be incremented along with X win?
Total.
Correct. It should be total. This dot total plus plus. Any other thing that you think should be changed? Okay, so that's all. We have made the required changes for the condition if X is win. Now we have to do the similar kind of changes in case the other player, that is O, is winning. So this time, can someone tell me that what should I do here? Which
O-
variable shall I increment or which variable shall I decrement?
Ovin.
Sorry,
This dot Ovin plus plus. This dot Ovin plus plus.
I do not have any variable O with.
Okay, X loss. Like we can have X loss.
Correct. So if O is winning, it is certain that X will be losing that time. So what can I do is I can say that X loss plus plus, hoping that the variable name is correct. And of course, I would be making an increment in the total as well. Okay. So we have done it for O1 as well. Now we'll come to draw. What do you think? Which value should be incremented in case of a draw? Should it be X win? Should it be X loss? Or should it be total? Or a combination of those?
Should be total.
I again do not have any X draw. So just have X win and X loss. Apart from these two, I have total. So what will I do is I'll just make an increment in the total, correct? So this dot total. So do you think we are all done? We are all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, since we have made the required logical changes, it would make sense to fill in these placeholders. Now, if I'll ask you that what value should go in this placeholder, total matches played. I'll just come to chat in a minute. Okay, it is total, correct?
X win plus X plus.
Okay, so if I come to X win, so I hope this is straightforward. It should be X win. Yeah. For X loss, again, it would be straightforward to say X loss. We'll come on to draw later on. Let us first fill O win. What do you think? What should go inside O win?
X loss.
Correct. It should go as X loss, and it should go as
X win.
X win. Okay. So now, can someone tell me that what should I fill in inside this draw placeholder?
Total.
So total minus X win. This is a suggestion that I have gotten in the chat. X win. What do you think? This would suffice? Total minus X win. So what you are doing is you are just
Minus X loss.
subtracting the number of wins registered by a player X from the total matches played. So that is going to
X loss should be there.
correct. Yeah. You also have to subtract the losses. X loss. And what do you think? What should be the draw value for the other player for O?
Total minus X loss minus X win.
Correct. It should remain same. Because if it's a draw between two players. No one is going to win, no one is going to lose. So, okay, we have filled in all of the required places, and let us see that if we are getting the desired output or not. So right now you are able to see that total matches played is 0, X, everything is 0. We'll just try to play this game and see if this works. Okay, so you can see that it says congratulations X. So X is the player who is born. You can see that the total matches played has been incremented by 1, this label. The number of wins registered by X, they are being set to 1. The losses for O, they have been set to 1. And of course, there is no draw. So see, this is how you can basically achieve it. And that's so simple. We basically did some very minor modifications in the code, and we are able to achieve what was required. But there is still one, issue with it. Can someone identify that issue? That's not an issue with the application, but from the user's point of view. Let's say you are using this application for your daily-to-daily use. What would you like to add in this application? Exactly, replay. So right now, if I have won this game, I don't have any other way to go back except refreshing this. If I refresh it, all of the previous information will be gone, and I can again start from the fresh board. So what I basically need to do here is we probably need to add some button here, so somewhere on the top or somewhere at the bottom, which allows the user to reset the game. Okay, and what should happen? The functionality of that that button should be implemented in a way that whatever information or whatever data we have collected so far in these top 3 levels, that data should persist until and unless the user refreshes the page. So by the time the user is not refreshing the page, this data should persist for the entire game run, or for the entire or across the games. That means if the user is playing 100 times, we should basically provide a button that the user can click once the game has ended, and the board should get refreshed and user can start playing it. So does anyone has any idea what can we do in order to implement that? Yes, any ideas? Has anyone thought about it before? I got the suggestion from the chat itself, so I'm hoping you must have tried this. I got this from Snehil. Probably call the initial function in the case. Okay, the very first thing from the user's point of view is we basically need a button that should allow the user to play this game. So let us just add that button. Where can we add that button? We can probably add it here, or let's add it here itself. Better much. The text on that button, it can be let's say play or play again. Okay. So yeah, that's it. Now we basically need to attach a handler with this button. On clicking this button, the board should get refreshed or the board should be reset. So what can we do here is we can attach an event be on click equals to. So we'll have to implement a method here. Let's implement that method. Let's name it as play. We'll implement it in the method section, and we'll see that what all things should go inside that method implementation. We'll have a discussion over that as well. But okay, I guess we can move on to that part. So I'll just play here. Set. Okay. So yeah, any ideas, any suggestions? What all things can happen inside this play method? What do you think? Okay, and yeah, there is one more thing basically. I do not want the user to click on that button in between the game. I want the user to first complete the current game. That means what I want is that the button should remain disabled until the game is completed. And that button should automatically get enabled whenever that game finishes. So that way user cannot leave the game in. Yes. So button depends on the value of result as in the computed function. Sorry, I'm not able to get it. Button depends on the value of result. Yeah, correct. So that means whenever the result has come out for a particular game, that will impact the value, or that will impact the behavior of that button, whether it is going to be enabled or disabled. So if the game is in progress, the button should remain disabled. If the game finishes, it should become enabled. Okay, so the easiest thing that I can think of right now is okay, let us add a new variable here that says status, whose value is going to be initialized as false. Okay. So what I'm doing is I am creating a new data variable whose value is initialized with false, and wherever I have created this button, what will I do is I'll use the disabled property or the disabled attribute and I'll write status. So since I need to bind it, so I'll just write this colon here. So initially, what will happen is the value of status is false. So disabled would be false. That means it would be enabled. So what will I do is I'll just make it no. So for the first time, that means when the user will load the screen for the very first time, the value of status is false. The not of false will be true and the value of disabled will be true. That means the button will be disabled at the time the user enters the screen for the very first time. Okay, this is exactly the functionality that we want. But now, what we are yet to implement is basically this play method. So can someone tell me that what shall we basically do here? Any ideas? Is there an initialization function here? What do you mean by an initialization function? That sets the empty board. So that is being done using this board. Right now you can see that all of the values are 0. 0 means they are empty. So if a value, for example, this is the 0th index. If this is 0, that means that cell is empty. Correct, exactly. That's the approach that we can basically follow here. Whenever the user is trying to click on that button, that means the game should be resetting. Now, resetting the game means resetting the board. And how are we supposed to reset the board? We'll simply do this. We'll reset the board to all 0. That's what we are going to do here. So the very first thing that we will do is reset. Okay, so I'll just copy it from here instead of typing it. All right, yeah, that was a good suggestion. But do you think, is there anything else that should be changed along with this dot board? Because we also have to keep the track of, who is the next player. And that is being handled using this next. Exactly. So we also need to initialize or, reset this next variable to 1. So this dot next, this will equal to 1. Is there anything else that should be changed? Yeah.
The status.
Sorry.
The status.
Exactly. That's the last thing that we are supposed to change here. So status. But what should be the new status value? It should be true or false?
False.
It should be false. Correct. So if you are clicking on play again button, that means the button should become disabled right after clicking that. So that's why we want to make it false. But wait, there is something that we are missing here. Can someone tell me what is that?
When the match ended, then we have to set the status as true.
Exactly. We are forgetting to set the status to true. So can you please suggest that where that status value should be changed? We have just made it false. It is supposed to be true at least somewhere, so that that button can get enabled.
Before switching to the new one in the earlier one.
Lines. Okay, sorry. Can you repeat again?
In the sir, as we are going for the new game now, in the previous game it should be true.
Okay, yeah, but where are we supposed to make that change? Any specific code snippet area? Somebody is saying line number 75. and after line with 81. 75 is this.
Within process.
Okay. Okay, so where we need to change that value is at the same places where we made the changes for x win, x total, etc., etc. So these are the places
Sir,
where
when
we are
either
required.
of them win or lost or there is a draw, then we have to change the status.
You are not properly audible.
Outside this
Whenever
for loop, can we
X
define?
wins or out.
Can one of you speak at a time? Okay, Chandrasekhar.
So can we take it outside this first for loop that is nearby this dot total?
Here.
Complete this x1 o1 draw. After this complete part, can we have this status?
Again, I'm
Instead
not
of
getting...
instead of writing at 3 places, you are saying to write it in 3 places, na?
See, this
For all
function
these
is returning at different places. Right, that's why we have to write it at this place itself.
Okay.
Because if you will write it, let's say, at this place itself, let's say if this function returns from here, that means this entire result function, it won't even go beyond that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the place. So these are the places where we are supposed to. Can we try it in the switch command? Again, I'm not able to get. What do you mean by switch command?
Which case?
Okay, okay. So how are you going to make use of switch? It is a computed function. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So the property name was status. So what will I do is I'll set it to status. What should be the value? It should be false or true?
It should be true now.
Should be true now. The same thing I have to do at 2 different places here and here. Now I guess we are all set. It should work or it should behave the way we want it to. Let me see. So right now you can see that this play again button is disabled. Let us just try to play one game. Okay, so you see that congratulations X, it has updated the data here. I'm not able to click anywhere on the board. Everything has been disabled, but right now this button has become enabled. If I click on it again, the board gets resetted, the button gets disabled, but the data still persists. This time I'm going to make O win. So right now you can see that everything is updated. I'll again click on play again, and I'm going to make it a draw. Okay, anyways, X is going to win now. Let me see. Okay, again X1. All right, yeah. So this is how basically we can implement all of these things which were required. Let me see if there is any other requirement here in the problem statement. So use the Bootstrap CSS to style the grid better and improve the user interface. So of course, like this has been set it up. If you will see this grid, so this is basically a 3x3 matrix. If you want, you can improve its aesthetics by using Bootstrap if you want. But right now, I would still suggest you to work on the basics, as Bootstrap is very much simple. The way you would have done it in your modern application development one course, the same could be used here as well. Until and unless you don't want to go with pure Bootstrap, the same Bootstrap classes can work here as well. Possible to do this with the watch component. So with the watch component, So which, okay, so for which property you want to define a watch for? Probably result. But it is itself computed. Okay. Okay. So basically, if I would tell you the difference between computed properties and watchers is that watcher basically just listens for a change in one of the variables it is being defined for. But in case of a computed property, it basically gets refreshed, or it basically gets invoked each time whenever any of its reactive property changes. Now, in this entire implementation of this result function, there might be so many properties which are changing here and there. And in case any of that, even if a single property changes, this result function or this result computed property will be invoked. But in case of watcher, you will probably be required to implement multiple watchers. I'm just talking in a very high level manner. But yeah, that's basically the simple difference. That watcher can basically listen for one property change. But in computed, you can have multiple properties and it gets invoked each time whenever any of its reactive dependencies changes. Result have a solid value making. Can you please elaborate it?
Hello.
I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah, it's better.
What I'm trying to say is, at the end of whenever the function for result is called, result will always have a value, right? It will either be 1, -1, 2, or 0.
Yeah.
So essentially, result will act like a variable with a value.
Okay. So see, in JavaScript, whenever we talk about JavaScript, we say that functions are always, first class objects. That means they can always be used as variables.
So we should be able to just define a watch component for result, saying that if it changes from 0 to -1 to this, or if it changes to 1, it does this.
Can you just repeat the last statement once again?
We should be able to do watch or make a watch component for result based on what value result has up at the end of the run of the function that we've defined for it.
No. What I'm saying is that this result is a computed property. And it is quite possible that, you are probably using many things inside it. For example, you are using this sum, you are probably using this dot board. And there are so many things which have been used inside this function implementation itself. So this computed property automatically gets invoked whenever there is a change in any of this property. But if you are defining a watcher, so this will only gets invoked if there is a change in result. How are you going to make that change in the result? This is what you need to think about first.
So we cannot pass whatever change has happened by this function onto the watcher component. Is it?
Can you speak a bit louder?
We cannot basically make the watcher react to whatever changes has happened in the result from this function right here.
Okay.
Is that the problem?
Sorry, Snehal, can you please try to speak a bit louder?
This is audible now.
I'm not really able to properly hear you. Can you write it in the chat?
Yes, I'll write it in the chat.
Okay, meanwhile, anyone having any other doubt? with the implementation that we just did here?
Sir, I just wanted to know, in week 3 live lecture, sir has explained 3 methods using Flask, JavaScript, and the Vue.
Yeah.
Those codes are available for us?
Yeah, sure. Means I just showed you, right? There is a hyperlink in the lab assignment here itself.
Yeah.
There is the hyperlink, and if you will go there,
Mhm.
so you'll be able to access this repository. This is a public group repository, and all of the implementations are present here. So this is the JS implementation, this is the Flask implementation, and this is the Vue implementation. So there are 2 implementations for it. So total 4.
Those are the same code that is explained in the lectures, right?
Yeah.
And we are modifying on top of that, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
If you want, I can share you the link here as well in the chat.
Yes, so that would be fine.
Okay. So we can't invoke a voucher for result based on the return value. See, once again, I'm saying that vouchers are implemented for the properties, and they will only listen for the change in those properties. You cannot make a relation between the return value of a function or a compute property and the voucher. Change in the function is called. Okay, all right. Yeah, correct. It has to. Okay, so yeah, are there any other questions regarding whatever we have discussed today? Okay, all right. So there is also one more interesting exercise in this week 4 practice lab assignment. This is going to be fun. So in the next session, as we have discussed, we'll try to focus a little bit on components. And yeah, we would highly recommend all of you to try out this practice lab assignment week 4. And we can probably discuss it in the next session that we are going to have on. So today is Tuesday, on Saturday, 9 to 11. I'll just stop sharing my screen. Okay, so if there are no more questions, so will that be a live coding session too, sir? Yes, that's going to be a live coding session as well. So in this course, we'll try to have as many as solve an instructor sessions kind of thing. Because of course, it is a more practical oriented course. In case you are having any issues with any of the activity or practice or the graded assignments for which the deadline has already been passed, we can take those, but our emphasis or our focus will remain on this practical orientation of this course. This is what is going to benefit you all. All right, so if there are no more questions, I think we can formally close this session. So once again, thanks for coming into this session, and we'll meet again on Saturday. So have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.